Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing? Today I wanted to talk about something I missed while I was away, right? Something very important. And that is my guy Roxy Xebec, baby. Oh my god. What an amazing character, man. Fantastic flashback. I didn't really talk about it that much when it first came out because obviously I wasn't here. But we're back now, and I wanted to talk about him a bit before the new. We just came out of the flashback, and it was a mainly Loki flashback focus, right? That was the priority of the flashback. We had Loki and stuff, but then there was about 12 chapters, I think, 10 or 12 chapters about Rox D. Zebek, and I just wanted to talk about that for a quick minute and talk about how I felt about him as a character. Because to be honest with you, ever since Elbath, even most of Egghead, it's been a joy to just read One Piece. Oda's character writing, Oda's writing in general, his art, everything has just been top notch since the final saga started, and nothing shows that more than Rox D. Zebek. What an incredible character. Not only was he introduced by just kicking the shit out of a kid out of nowhere. You don't see that in One Piece, and it kind of played off sarcastically. Like it's bad, like it makes him come out as a bad person. But it was just out of nowhere, man. He just goes, boom, just right away. Do you know what I mean? No dilly dallying. The kid won't give him any information. He's like, no, fuck you. Straight away. It was crazy work. Do you know what I mean? And then we get a load of flashback work with him and Harold, obviously. He gets introduced by showing up to Emu's house and being like, "What's up, man? I'm gonna come get you one day." Then dips out and literally splits the sky with the strongest person in the verse at the time. Do you know what I mean? And kills an admiral, man. Also, that would be incredible if it's like, I don't know, Zephyr. Imagine it like they change it so that's Zephyr or something, or someone like Akainu's dad or something, someone important that will change the story, will like impact the story and give Blackbeard another matchup potentially as like a grudge match. I don't know who that's gonna be, but I'm really interested to see who that is. But oh man, such a fantastic introduction, just off the wall, like. And we get an introduction to the Rocks Pirates. We get more of my guy, Edward Newgate, Whitebeard, man. We got more of him in this flashback. We got some really good spreads with Whitebeard in them. We got the whole, five strongest characters attacking Emu, which was a great spread. We got Whitebeard's first named attack, which I think it was like Seaquake something. I can't remember now off the top of my head. But like, jeez, it was so cool. And he was like front and center. You could see that, man. Oh, I love to see that. And then you got, man, that panel with like Kaido and Whitebeard just standing next to rocks was incredible. I loved it so much. And obviously it sets up nicely for Weevil. We're gonna get some information on Weevil. We might get even more rocks through Weevil. You never know. Like, and we know obviously that Weevil isn't actually his son. It's more than likely a clone. But it is great to see. It's very interesting to see that can be built on. And no one really talked about Weevil while the chapters were coming out. But like, it's gonna be interesting now. We might get more from Whitebeard. We also got Marco's dad in this flashback, which was interesting. I still think that could have been Marco, and when he just died, he reincarnated. I know Marco's supposed to be 6 or something now at this stage, but Phoenix logic could be a load of shite, so you never know. I still think it'd be interesting if this just is Marco. He wanted to make a Marco Polo joke, which is funny in fairness. But Rox was just incredible, man. Everything about Rox in this flashback was just mad. You just had him be like the coolest character in the entire show, but also still be a bad guy, but a good guy at the same time. Do you know what I mean? Like, his relationship with Harold was just fantastic to see. Do you know what I mean? Like, they both had differing ideals and they pushed through their own paths in different ways. And it worked to elevate both the characters, I think, in the long run, Because we had, obviously, each of their ideals were very spoken to each other. It elevated Ida as a character with Ida's life lessons. Ida was a fantastic character, by the way. I haven't got a chance to speak about that, but like, Ida was probably the MVP of that flashback by far. Like, Ida, just the small moments she did have, the level of impact. I'm so pissed that Oda killed her off, man. Because like, here's the problem with someone like Ida, right? Because he got the mother figure so well done. The greatest thing for me about Ida is, like, I find a lot of characters that remind me of my own dad in like these shows, and it gets me very emotional. But I don't find a lot of characters that remind me of my own mother. Ida was one of those characters, so I was like so emotional with Ida, man, because it just because it just reminded me so much of my own mother, and it had such an effect on me, man. It's just so sad, man. I didn't want her to kill her off. I knew it was happening, and I was like, please, don't do this to me, man. I cried like a bitch, man. It was terrible. But you know what I mean? Like, it was like all these characters around rocks and surrounding rocks were elevated and had a chance to impact the story through rocks. Like, Ida's big lines to Loki came from like trying to de-influence him from Rox's view of things, and obviously has an impact on Loki now and his chaotic view of things, and we're gonna see the full impact of that later on when the flashback is completely finished. But man, it was just like so cool, and to turn out to be a family man, like, you know me, I love Kuma, I love Whitebeard because of their family values and how that's represented in the story. I think that's great. I think Kuma is slowly becoming probably my favorite character in the series. Outside of Luffy, no one is going to reach Luffy's level. I think Luffy is such an impactful character to the series. I find it really hard to not put Luffy as my number one guy. So, like, outside of Luffy, currently it's like Whitebeard and Kuma. Eventually it could be Kuma Whitebeard or Kuma Rocks if we get more of Rocks. But it was that, like, the way Rox's character was so like layered and nuanced in how he was still an arsehole, but like he had some redeeming qualities to him, and he had some honor to him. Honestly, the pure embodiment of what a pirate could be. It was a real Jack Sparrow type of character, but a more aggressive, more evil style of Jack Sparrow, which I thought was interesting. Whereas, like, it's kind of like if you take it from those movies, Rox is like Jack Sparrow, and like Teach is like Davy Jones. Do you know what I mean? Which is very obviously makes sense because we find out it's Davy D. Xebec and all this, and the Davy clan gets introduced. I don't have much to say about the Davy clan, to be honest. I feel like there has to be more revealed about them before I make a statement on them. But man, it was just such a cool moment. It was like, you are scared of the previous king, man, when he spoke to Emu and he resisted Dummy Reversey for a while. Like, that is just so cool to me. And just all his panels were amazing. Even when he was calling the Rocks Pirates and you get that page spread at the end with them all there, like, it was just so cool. Or the color spread at the week after the flashback ended, and you just get them all in suits. Like, it's just super cool. The only problem I have is that I was really on the theory that he had like the op fruit because he was doing this when he was introduced on Egghead, on Elbath. Do you know what I mean? I was so like, oh, he's not actually dead. He's gonna come back. You know, he's gonna turn out to be in Teach somehow. He's gonna be one of the souls in Teach. It's gonna be like Eris and Xebec, and that makes perfect sense to me. But I really don't know. Also, we never saw Eris die, so that's gonna be interesting. That's gonna be a whole flashback for Blackbeard. At this stage, though, what flashbacks do we think we're going to get? For me, I think it's going to be, obviously we're getting a Void Sentry flashback. We have to get like a Blackbeard flashback, a Shanks flashback, and a Dragon flashback. I think those are the guarantees, right? And probably Akainu as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, those are the 5, I think, guaranteed flashbacks. And honestly, I think the only one we could technically skip, because you could add his flashback into the rest of them, is a Shanks flashback. Because you could easily have him intertwine with Dragon, have his story intertwine with Akainu, have his story intertwine to some degree with the Joy Boy flashback. I don't know how you do that. Maybe if he had interactions with Emu, you could do that, and you can add to his story that way, like was done in this Loki flashback. But I don't know. I'm just really excited to see how it goes, because Xebec was such, like, this is the thing with Oda. He did such a good job of making Xebec such an interesting character. Even the gags, man. The Shaki gag was so funny. It was hilarious to me. And you know I have my issue with some of Oda's gags, mainly the Sanji gags. I think he goes a bit too far. But this was an example of the perfect version of those type of gags, because it was just so funny. It was just taken to the right extreme without going a bit too far. But it just made it hilarious. Like, every single fella was just on their knees for this woman, and it was so funny. When the line in the chapter was like, Oh, when she got captured, the world economy stopped for like 3 weeks. I was like, that is the funniest thing that has ever happened in One Piece. Like, unironically, it was so funny. And like, oh man, the scene when they walk into the bar and like Whitebeard, Xebec, and all of them are going nuts. And I think it's also it made for an interesting character moment when we found out Rox had a partner. And I was like, you don't look at me the same anymore. And it was an interesting way to slowly show evolution of his character and of his person, how he changed within these 12 chapters. You know, and that's the great thing. Oda can take these small parts of the story and like make characters into just like top tier characters. Like Kuma is one of the greatest characters in the series, and he only spent what 8 chapters like evaluating his character and developing his character, and it was done in such a fantastic way. And he did it again in this one. You know, Kuma is responsible for saving both Luffy and Blackbeard, and will have such an important role in the story. Do you know what I mean? And we got Dragon Glaze, baby. I love to see it, man. I love to see it. You know, I've been the number one Dragon Glazer all my life. I did a top 30 back in the day, and I put him at number one. I said Luffy has not met him yet. He has to be stronger. He is unbelievable. I still think. See, the only thing that makes me think he doesn't have a 6 Billy berry bounty is because Luffy might have to end the series with 5.6 billion. And if that wasn't the case, you know, I would say Dragon has a 6 billion berry bounty. But right now, I think Dragon might have the 5.59 or something. I think he should have a bigger bounty than Roger. And I know it's like, why? Like, but he's like the worst criminal in the world, and Roger wasn't even directly trying to take down the world government, whereas Dragon is trying to do that. And I just think, oh man, I'm the biggest Dragon Glazer, you know. And when that shit went down in the chapter, I was like, yeah, we're getting it right here. And yeah, we didn't get a lot of stuff with him. Like, it was 1 or 2 chapters, and he wasn't the main focus. But it was just incredible. And then we got a lot of great Garp moments in this flashback as well. True that. All these characters interconnected with Rox, and finding out about Garp's main ideals and what he stands for, and how he takes family over the job, which he doesn't do in Marineford, which is interesting. Garp is probably like the best written character in the series. I wouldn't say he's my favorite, because I love Whitebeard and Kuma so much. He is definitely up there. He's probably like my top characters right now is probably Luffy, Kuma, Whitebeard, and Garp, and then probably Nico, Robin. Like, that's like my top characters. Is that top 5? I think that's top 5. Right, that's my top 5 right now, currently, for characters in the story. And that can change a lot over time. Like, Xebec is definitely up there as well. I have a whole list. But I also feel like it's unfair because he was in it for such a short amount of time, and this part of the flashback also really increased the value in characters like Roger and stuff. Like, I love how separate Roger is from Luffy now. To differentiate Roger from Luffy was a fantastic decision. It makes him as a character so much more interesting in how he changes over time. And he is so different from Ace as well. Like, that's what I mean. Oda is fantastic at making characters that are different and unique, and I just can't wait to see it. Like, I can't wait for Joy Boy to show up and see what difference he is to Luffy and Roger, how different he is as a character, and what his similarities are and what the important bits are. I still think there's a chance that this could be a time travel story and Joy Boy is actually literally just Luffy, because Vivi is like identical to Princess Lily or whatever. So there is still a chance that Joy Boy is actually literally just Luffy, especially because in the anime they gave him Luffy's old voice actor from the OVA, which I think was a brilliant decision. Do you know what I mean? So man, this entire flashback was incredible, and I haven't even talked about Loki. I might make a whole separate video on Loki, but I kind of want to wait another chapter and reread Elbath and just give my full opinions on him. But he's such a beautiful, beautiful character. And obviously his connection with Ida and everything was so nice. I loved it so much. And like Harold as a character and his interactions with his family were really interesting, because he goes against everything I personally believe in. Like, he put his own values over his family, and but to still make me care and empathize with this character and be like frustrated with him every single week, but still love how he was written, was a fantastic job. And I think Rox helped with that so much. Like, even when Rox is talking to Loki and he's like, oh, your dad is just all about love, you know, that's what's holding him back. But he understands it, and he's a friend. He understands his friend's values, and he'd never take advantage of that, unlike Blackbeard. But that's what I'm saying. These characters that are supposed to be the predecessors of our original characters are now like, they are separate. They have different personalities to the new generation. You wouldn't see that in a show like Naruto, you know? Naruto is very similar to Ashura if you watch the Naruto filler. You know, the different characteristics aren't there. But One Piece, even if you're inherent in the will of someone, you are not identical to that person. You are your own person. You are different. And Oda shows that so beautifully. It's fantastic. And no, he did that so well with Rocks and Blackbeard, and even with like Dragon and Garp and Luffy, there are certain things that are different, certain values that are different that he shows so well. Like Garp scaring off the 3 Yonko, by the way, I'm going to end it on this, was one of the most brilliant things ever, man. The Garp glaze, this flashback was immaculate. I loved it so much. I know I'm just basically saying, you know, that 4 months or the 8 months I was away, One Piece was incredible, and I just wanted to say how amazing it was. That's basically what this video was about. Just to basically talk about how fantastic the character work was in God Valley. How if this God Valley movie doesn't happen, I'm going to be sitting here crying in my chair for the next 5 years until we finally get a God Valley movie, man. It needs to happen. It actually just needs to happen, Odie. You need to get off your arse and make the God Valley movie, man, instead of something else. I know it's like, oh, it will interfere with the anime, but the anime is going to take forever to get there anyway now because it's on break, and it's becoming seasonal, rightfully so. And to be honest, I don't mind it becoming seasonal. I know there's a lot of like disdain for it becoming seasonal from a few people I know, because it's like, you know, it's like your routine broken. But I just think it's a great idea overall because it extends the lifespan of One Piece, and I just want more One Piece, man. If I have to wait 3 months to get a new arc, but that means I might wait another 3 years before the show ends. So, you know, I'm happy enough with that. The more One Piece I get. And then if the God Valley thing is turned into a movie, that would make sense for the breaks, because you'd start up the flashback, you get to a certain point, then you'd be on another break for the season, and there'd be a movie in between the seasonal breaks, and you come back. They might air the movie in chunks as episodes, which you could do. I often wonder why they don't do that, because all you'd have to do is split the movie up into episodes and then literally just put an opening and ending song at the end of it. I know they do it in a different way. They did it in a different way for Dragon Ball Super, and I don't know what they did for Demon Slayer. I know they made like 7 episodes, but I don't know if they actually extended the material. But I like to see that personally. And man, one last thing before I go. The scene where Rox is crying and asking to be killed is one of the most beautiful things Oda has ever drawn. It was so emotional. It was so well done. It was just gorgeous. Like, everything about this flashback was just gorgeous in every way possible. Anyway, with that being said, I'm off now. It's my little brother's 18th birthday, so I'm off to celebrate with him. Happy birthday. Love you, little bastard. And I'll see you all next time. Goodbye. And happy birthday, Nathan. Cheers.